So today we are going to learn virtual private cloud. And what is virtual private cloud? Virtual private cloud, basically AWS give you a private space you can keep or host your resources in it, and only you can have access that private network. You can give a permission to other people so they can use or they can come by using internet. So again, VPC is region scope. If you create your VPC in Central America, and it won't be available other region like in California, or if you go in India or Singapore, it won't be available to access it. Again, VPC is kind of a service that lets you launch AWS resources in logical isolated virtual network that you can define. You have complete control over your virtual network environment, including selection of IP, selection of your own IP addresses, creation of subnet, and configure route table and network. You can use both IP version 4 and IP version 6, most resources in your virtual private cloud. So in this class we gonna create custom VPC. In custom VPC we will create like first VPC right here. Under VPC we will create subnet, public subnet and private subnet, and first we will work in this area. So after creating public subnet we will create security group, and then we will launch EC2 instance. We will try to connect from outside, so it won't be connect because we were still missing internet gateway and a route table. So we will create internet gateway. After internet gateway we will create route table. Okay, next slide. So AWS use the CIDR block. What is CIDR block? Classless inter-domain network domain routing. So what we do, like in inter-domain network routing, AWS use, as I mentioned, use CIDR block for the networking. As for now, why class inter-domain routing will be used here? For security and complete AWS network. Let's suppose if you have a laptop and it connect to the network, and your laptop would have IP addresses and gateway. All the laptop has an IP addresses. These all allocation IP addresses done in CIR, classless inter-domain domain network routing, right? If you want to launch a VM machine, whatever resources you attach, AWS will provide you a virtual private network, like default virtual private network, so you can host your resources in privately and not like physically. Those resources cannot be accessible by the publicly or external people. So it is your personal private space, right? So I told you guys, like CIDR block will be used for AWS networking. So in AWS we can create VPC, and in VPC we can create CIDR block. What is CIDR block? CIDR block is right here. So in this is a CIDR block, and the first 192.168, this is the base IP, and the 26 is for subnet mask. And once you have 26 subnets and subnet masks, you will have 64 IP addresses. So you can launch 64 EC2 machine, virtual machine, right? So what is like a subnet mask here? So subnet mask means how many IP address your network should have it. So I mentioned here you have 64 IP addresses. If your subnet mask is 26, you have 64 IP addresses, right? So once you have 64 IP addresses right here, so 5 IP will be reserved for the AWS, and only 59 IP addresses will be used. You can launch 59 AWS EC2 machine or virtual machine. So how they will work? So there will be some calculation based on the subnet mask. If, like, suppose if we have subnet mask 24, right, so how many IP addresses we can generate. So in the next slide I will show you guys how. And here is a subnet mask for Windows, here is a subnet mask for Linux. So how you can find out in Windows, come here, IPCONFIG, you will see the default subnet mask right here. Subnet mask is 255.255.255.0. So here is a calculation how we can calculate subnet mask. If you have 32 subnet masks, here is a subnet mask, right? If you have 32 subnet masks and you will have only one IP, how? So I'm gonna show you guys. So there is a formula, we use it, like if you see, like 32, so 2 key power 32 minus 32, and this 32 comes from the subnet mask. So 2 key power 0 means 2, so so you will have one IP at 2 key power 1, 2 key power 1 for 2, so you will have one IP address. 2 key power 0, 2 key power 0 means 1, so you will have one IP address. If I go for 32 minus 31 here, for second one, right here, second one, and 2 key power, right, 2 key power is 2 key power 1 means 2, so you will have 2 IP address right here. So similar here, if you go back here, 2 key power like 16, so like if I go 2 key power 32 minus 16, this is a formula, minus 16, 28, this one, 2 key power 28, right? This is a subnet mask. We need to type here subnet mask. So we will have 2 key power 4 left, 28 minus 32, 2 key power 24, so we will have 16 IP addresses. So how we calculate this is a way we can calculate. So if you guys see here, if the subnet mask is increasing, and right here, if you see subnet mask is 32, you have less IP. If subnet mask is 28, you have slightly more IP addresses yet, right? If subnet mask is 16, you have 65,536 IP addresses. So once subnet mask is decreasing, right, so IP address is increasing, if you guys see here, right? So I hope you guys understand that part, right? I'm gonna talk about this part. If you have like 32 subnet mask, means like you have no IP address, number can be changed. What does mean, like I'm gonna first start with the 24. If you have 24 subnet masks and you have 256 IP addresses, right? So how we calculate this one, we need to go on the one of the website IP address guide. I can show you over there one sec. So I opened ipaddressguide.com and I'm going to type here 24 subnet masks. So calculate. Right here there are 256 IP addresses available, right? And how 255 is the last IP and the first one is 000.10.000.8256 total. And when the IP address is going to be increased, the last number will change. Like here, subnet mask 24, last IP address can be changed. Last here will start changing. Like next, maybe it would be like 254 to 255 or whatever. So the last subnet mask is keep changing right here. So if I go for 16 subnet masks, so right here, back, back here, if I go for 10, sorry, 16, you will have a dot 16 right here. Your last two digit will change here. So right here you have 65,536 IP addresses right here. So these last two digit will change. How this gonna be changed? So the first IP, as I mentioned you, 0000, and the last one is 256 multiplied by 256, so it's going to be 65,500. How it will work, I'm gonna open Paint. So first IP would be like this. Second, it will change to 1 and it goes to 256, right? So this is gonna work. First, this is the first IP. It will change 1 to 255. Right here 255, it will go to 256 IP. Once this cycle is complete, the second cycle will start here. So it will change to 1, the second digit will change to 1 to 256, then 2 to 256. Once is complete, 3 to 255 of 256, whatever, and eventually we will calculate 256 multiplied by 256. We will get 65,000 IP addresses. So this is the way how it's work, and we have a good website, ipaddressguidance.com, so you can calculate your subnet mask here. So only the IP addresses are changing. First digit will change, and once the is complete circuit 256, then the second one is start. I mentioned right here. It will change 1 to 256, then it will go for 2 to 56, and then 3 to 256. Okay, you guys can see here these two numbers are changing when your subnet mask is 16. Mostly we use when we create VPC, we create like we keep the CIDR block is 16. I hope you guys understand what is CIDR block and how subnet gonna be work here. So mostly CIDR block used for VPC for networking, right? So these I mentioned you 8 digit 3 number will be changed. Let's go to the next. So what is private and public IP? So right here is like the private LAN or private IPs are only for internal company use, internal corporate network, and like an intranet, and it's mostly IP. Like private IP is limited to the internal or home network only. And what is public? What is the public internet or public IP? So public internet, like you can say launch if you launch any website, you like the Amazon.com in the background. Amazon.com has IP address, public IP address. So through DNS, the name is translated into web naming Amazon.com. This is a public IP. Public IP, like example is for publicly network, like you can access anywhere. And private IP you cannot access. Is intranet IP is company limited, like internal users IP. Like if you are working in a corporate, so you are submitting your online attendance sheet, right? Time sheet. So the timesheet is working on the intranet or on private IPs. Here is like a subnet mask is a very huge network. The 100,000 IP address will generate here. The beginning and you guys can see like this is a range right here, and AWS default using subnet mask is 12. Like there is also big network, and once we create VPC, we will give the range. The min subnet mask range in 16 we give in the a VPC once we start creating VPC. So once we start creating a virtual private cloud, we like all the new account have a default VPC, right? It's already created VPC as a default, and when we launch EC2 instance, when we launch it connected with the default VPC. So we can create our own VPC too, and we can define the IP addresses range, or we can use a CIDR block in it. Default VPC has internet connectivity, and instance have a public IP, right? That is correct. We also get the public and private DNS name in EC2 instance. So now I will open VPC. I will create VPC and show you guys. Before I do, we will go through this one. You can have multiple VPC in one region. The max is 5. You cannot create more than 5 in one region. I told you is region scope. VPC is region scope, right? So if you are create another VPC, you need to contact with the Amazon people. They will allow you. So maximum per VPC, maximum CIDR block for each. So here you go. Min size and maximum size for CIDR block. Min IPs you can launch only 16 EC2 instance, and max is 65,000. I'm gonna open the Amazon and I will show you how it's gonna work. I'm going to log in. If you can't find VPC, just type here VPC, virtual private cloud, right here. It will show. So this is our VPC, right? So I am gonna go to the dashboard right here. Click here. Go to this is the dashboard. I am going to create VPC. As I mentioned you guys, the default VPC is already there. I'm going to create my own VPC, my first VPC, right? And I told you the limit of the CIDR block in VPC. So / so min is 16. If I go for 15, it won't accept it, right? I'm going to define here. It's gonna give me an error right here. So there must be between the block size must be between 16 subnet mask to 28. So where I show you guys right here. So min size is 28 and max size is 16. So back here, so I cannot create any VPC with the size of 15. If I go for the max is 28, so if I go for 29, right, it won't accept again. This must be between 16 to 28, right? So I'm gonna create one VPC with the 16, so we will have 65,000 IP addresses. So right here, click here, is being created. Your VPC is being created, right? So this part is run. So as we have created VPC, so once we created VPC, only the private IP ranges are allowed in VPC. So these are the ranges right here, and there's the last point. It VPC CDI should not overlap with the other VPC. So we have created like 65,000 like IP addresses with the subnet mask is 16. If you create another one, the IP address, the IP we mentioned should not be overlap each other. But so far we learned subnet mask. I'm going to tell you what is like subnet. So what is subnet? Like if you want to divide your network into two parts, we will call subnet. Or subnet is like a logical subdivision of IP addresses. Like you have 65,000 IP addresses. After divided uh, after divided IP address, now we will allocate the half IP address, like half to the private network we will allocate, and half to the public network. So how we can create subnet, right? As I told you, if you want to divide your network into into parts, right? Into parts we call subnet. How we can create subnet in AWS? So we have created VPC with 65,000 IP addresses. I'm gonna divide. First, I'm gonna create subnet mask. Here, before we creating, we need to attach VPC in subnet mask. Subnet underscore public. I keep name is public, PUBLIC, right? Availability zone you can define because we create VPC in Central America, so keep it this one. And right here we dot 0.0.0 slash 24. So 24 means we will get how many IP addresses? 256. So we can launch 256 instance. So I cannot keep like I can keep 16 here. That's I mentioned in a CDI block in the VPC. But all IP addresses will be used here. Only one subnet. So I'm gonna divide it into 256 IP addresses or subnet mask 24, right? So subnet mask is being created right here. So you will have subnet mask. As I mentioned you in a slide, if I go back, here you go. So we create VPC, and now we have created public subnet, right? And then we will launch the EC2 instance. We will try to connect with the publicly network, our private network, so our people can access our private network. So far everything we created, VPC is still in private, and subnet is still in private. Once we have successfully created subnet, we need to make it we need to assign auto IP addresses. What auto IP addresses gonna do? It will enable public IP. So here you go. So back to here, public subnet, we have created like /24 subnet mask, right? And it's showing only 251 IP, supposed to be show 256 IP addresses, but 5 IP address AWS keep it, right? So now we have like how many IP addresses? 251 IP addresses. So we can launch 251 EC2 instance, and it will launch randomly, allocate the IP addresses to each instance until you it will keep it will launch. It's not in sequence like 254, 253 IP addresses. Randomly it will assign the IP address to the EC2 instance. So now we have subnet. Right? So what we are doing here, we have private subnet. We don't have EC2. We have VPC right here. So we're going to launch EC2 instance, right? So right here, okay, I'm going to open another tab. So I'm going to launch EC2 instance. Right now 0 is running, right? So launch, select, configure. So as I mentioned, every EC2 instance should have default VPC, right? This is a default VPC. I'm going to select my VPC, and I have a public subnet. Public subnet has the IP address is enabled. If you guys see here, the IP address are enabled. We can disable IP addresses, public IP addresses, leave it enabled, right? So I'm going to launch instance. Next, configure. So here is the security group I mentioned you. We have like I will go through in detail security group in the next class. I'm going to create one security group. So this one is SSH, is allow only the SSH command. If I go here, SSH I have installed already, it will allow SSH, but we are going to access publicly, like our host, like our private network EC2 instance that has like running Linux server that is hosting our website, so people of outside cannot see our website. So we like right now, because they cannot see it, it has a private IP addresses. We are going to create one public. We are going to create the internet gateway. Through internet gateway, the public can access our private. Still cannot access until we create a route table, and route table will connect to the internet gateway. Then public can access our our website that we're hosting in a Linux EC2 machine. So anyway, I'm going to add here rules. So HTTP for website. If I going for emails, like webmail server, so I will go for POP3 or IMAP. So right now I'm going for only for HTTP. Port 80 should be port 80, and here I'm allowing all IP addresses. This means all IP addresses publicly. Launch. This is the keypad. I'm going to launch. I will explain in the next class what are the keypad. Create a new keypad. I'm going to create new keypad. My keypad. So is gonna download. Is being downloaded. Launch is run. So it's still in pending. We will check here. Right, my keypad, IP address right here. Honor is not ready yet. So EC2 instance is ready. So what we did so far, we have created VPC, we have created public subnet, and we launch EC instance. If I go for connected, it won't be connect. So I need to go for first. I downloaded my keypad in download folder. I'm going to connect my EC2 instance with the public network. So it's not gonna be work. Not this one. It's not gonna be work. Reason, I don't have gateway. It will show the timeout for sure. It will show the timeout. So what we needed now, we needed internet gateway and route table. What is internet gateway, right? So what is internet gateway? Internet gateway is a single point of access to computer outside from the network. It's kind of your door. home door. So your home door is blocking outside people. Until they knock it, you will allow. So this is a gateway. Example, in your VPC you create a Linux server that is hosting a website, suppose, and people of the outside cannot see your website, and if they want to see your website, so we need to attach internet gateway. So gateway will allow the outside people to inside. Without internet gateway, the other people cannot have access of the website. Even your instance cannot be communicate with the internet. So we need internet gateway. So how we can create, I'm gonna show. So we are going to create internet gateway. So create internet gateway, tag internet gateway. So it's been created now, and now we need to attach our internet gateway with our with VPC. So they need to be internet gateway need to be attached with not default one, my first VPC, right? So it's been created internet gateway. I'm gonna show you back again. So our internet gateway has to be attached with VPC here, not subnet, right? So it's been created, and now what we after create internet gateway, and now we need to be create a route table. So we are telling our network to go through this way, so you can have you can have access of web server. But still, what is route table? Route table determine the shortest possible path your data can travel destination from computer A to computer B. If we want to route traffic, we need to have route table. Or if you don't have here internet gateway and the route table, the route the traffic within the VPC private network. So I'm going to create route table now, and in route table, right here, route table, we need to mention the traffic in the route table. So we have already one here. I'm gonna keep the name is public, this one, and or we can delete this one, create the new one. Let's see if we can delete it. I think we cannot delete it right here. Anyway, so we have a route table right here. I'm going to route our traffic here. So here is our destination and target, right? So add. I'm going to route our traffic from public 00 any IP address connected with the internet gateway. Internet gateway right here, our internet gateway. So any traffic coming from public through internet gateway is allowed, and also subnet mask. So one side is done. The second side, our private our public subnet we have created. So I'm going to add here. So now it can, before we add it here, I'm gonna try again here to communicate with my EC2. Oh, it is communicating, is connected, but is connected with the gateway, is not connected with the our private EC2 machine. Now I'm going to connect. I allow, edit allowed, it is been allowed, and now we have I already mentioned you, we have access right here. So we are connected here, Amazon Linux 2. So our slide here. So internet gateway, I mentioned you internet gateway helps VPC access the connection with the internet, right? And one VPC can only be attached with the one internet gateway, or vice versa. Okay, this route table is already destination was private and target was internet gateway from the outside. right? So now here public outside people, internet people can access our server, EC2 server, through route table and internet gateway. So this is not private anymore, this is become a public, right? In the next class we will learn how to connect with net gateway, how to create a net gateway. Once we have a private EC2, another EC2 machine, so we will learn how to connect, how to like connect our private EC machine with the internet, but publicly cannot, like outside people cannot access our EC2 machine, right? So in the next class we will create a net gateway, and after net gateway we're gonna create net instance. Net gateway completely managed by AWS, and net instances need to be managed by ourselves. So the benefit of net gateway, it won't be down at any time, and the net instance, if it's fail, all network gonna be fail. So mostly like most of the people, they recommend net gateway. Keep it net gateway, so you can have, like, you can download only the things in a private network. You cannot upload anything in a private network, and the other the outside people cannot be access your private network.